Muchachos y muchachas. So Target is now the Bud Light 2.0, as many people are backlashing against their choices that they have made for the upcoming Pride season. And as you know, it's incrementally gotten more intense over the years with this whole season. It started with I think it was like a day or something, and then it was like a weekend, and now it's like an entire month. I don't know what's going on, but this especially is a season for corporations to exploit for the dollar, for the merchandise, and Target is one of these corporations. Now, Target is not new at making merchandise for Pride or anything like that. They've done that in the recent years, but I think it's this year where people are finally taking a stand, because as they have been allowed to progress and incrementally produce more and more merchandise, they are now selling things out in the open that are only catered to the most fringe part of our society. They have bathing suits that have little compartmental parts for the no-no parts, right? And we're talking about the danglies, right? So they have stuff like that out in the open. They've got accessories with sayings and graphics and all these things. And it's like, wow, I think the public has had enough. So now they're backlashing. And what I covered in my previous video pertaining Target was a particular artist. Actually, I covered two artists. We're going to take another look at the second artist again. But the artist that garnished a lot of controversy was, I think his name is 𝘏𝘍𝘍𝘬𝘏 or something like that. Promoted a lot of Satanism in his artwork and a lot of this weird stuff and, symbology, stuff like that. I mentioned that I covered another artist in my first video, and I wanted to revisit that artist because as I took a closer look, I was like, wait a second. The symbology in your work as well is really weird that Target targeted these artists for their collaboration. So we're going to take a look at that a little wider, plus a wider look at some similar artwork a follower pointed out from another artist. With that being said, hold on to your butts, secure your wigs, stay right there. We're going to go through it. All right, so in my previous video talking about Target things, we went through some of the initial backlash. Target had an emergency meeting, and then they moved a lot of this merchandise to the back. People were still not satisfied, which, they're rightful to be outraged about all of this, this heavy push of this fringe, this fringe things that are trying to install as a normalcy in our modern day society. And so, what I find interesting are the artists that they chose to collaborate. One of them we went over more heavily, had a Baphomet and some pastel-like, childlike things and accessories with the weird sayings that are also very fringe in my personal opinion. And then we kind of went through another artist that they collaborated with, which is an artist by the name of Humberto Cruz. And we went through it very quickly. I took another look today and I was like, you know what? There's a lot more symbology in his work that I feel like I needed to cover. So we're going to go through that, right? This is his Instagram ice cream color. Okay, we're just going to go through some of this work again. And as you can see, I can scroll really quickly. I think we went through this, but you can see the 𝘏𝘍𝘍𝘬𝘴 bears. I don't think I covered this actually particularly, the 𝘏𝘍𝘍𝘬𝘴 looking bears. This was only posted about 4 to 5 days ago. So this is definitely after the whole controversy has boiled over with 𝘏𝘍𝘍𝘬𝘴. People are still not forgetting about it though. And yet this symbology is being drawn, right? There is a female-like figure. I don't know if this is supposed to be an adult woman or what, but very scantily clad. Coverings, there are pentagrams and devils and things like that, right? And here's the thing, I don't mean this at all to demonize, just this artist or, their skills or anything like that. But I definitely think that if you are being platformed by the likes of Target to do things like this, where let's pull this up, for instance. Where you're designing for children. These are this is the actual collection for Target here, where you're actually designing things for infants. Look at that onesie for the infant, for children, for toddlers, right? I feel like it's weird that they chose artists that are pervasive in their artwork, and they chose them to create the graphics for the children's wear and the accessories and things like that, right? So, anyway, like I said, I'm not here to demonize. If this is just aimed for adults, okay, fine, right? Adults can also have this whimsical art style and all these things. I'm not coming at them for that, but it's the fact that everything has a common denominator with these artists, where they have a lot of, demonic symbology and a lot of sexualized themes in their artwork and things like this. And for whatever reason, we aim to have these types of artists for the children's accessories, when there are people out there that can do more you know what I mean, more appropriate things, because people are going to look at the artist, people are going to look at their artwork. So when you're posting things like this, where it's for instance, we pointed out the whole BDSM bear and all of that. Let's scroll down here. Yeah, here we go. Again, childlike little drawings with little demon symbology. There are mermaids with their chichas all out with just, pasties and things. You know what I mean? And then if we go back to that tweet where I pulled some examples, like this one's, for instance, you are never going to see artists, people from the mainstream mock any other religion, any other belief, any other faith other than Christ. They always come for Christ, right? They always mock him. They always blaspheme him. And they create these degenerate images. Like, for instance, he created a depiction of Christ on the cross, basically going through themes of the planned apocalypse, things like this, right? And then whilst they're being, little animal figures that are, again, sexualized. I can't even click on this guy right here. The little sunflower, because of what is below, which is a dong, okay, a no part that he has drawn on this childlike drawing. So it's just weird, right? It's weird that it's always Christ that they're coming after. And once again, we go from that where we're basically seeing phalluses and chi-chis everywhere and pentagrams and devils. And then you're over here designing things for children and infants, right? And then there's more examples at the bottom that I pulled. For instance, the Powerpuff Girls. Come on. Let's pull this up. Powerpuff Girls on a pole, and then you've got those rabbit-like things in the backgrounds that are dressed in what seems to be like S&M gear and things like that. Looks like Bart Simpson, and I mean, it's just weird, right? And again, if that's your style, that's your style. I'm not coming for you for your style or your skill set, but it's the fact, once again, I have to be repetitive. It's the fact that the common denominator of them choosing these artists always have to have some sort of pervasive background to their art and all that. Now, this account that I follow called Citizen of the Future commented on my thread and pointed something really, really interesting out. Something that, I mean, he has a point here. Now, we went through some of the styles of this, this art that I pointed out, where it's like childlike drawings and all this thing. There's another artist, and I'm not conflating this artist that I'm going to talk about with Humberto Cruz, but I'm just saying, and I'm agreeing that there are some very similar symbology aspects, characteristics to the art. A lot of it looks similar. Of course, this particular image right here is more macabre than anything. I wouldn't say that there's anything particularly malicious about this. It is definitely dark and macabre, You know what I mean? And what I'm trying to say is like, there's always worse, which there is. Like, for instance, let's click on this one. This is where you start to get a peek. Let me just tell you this. If you go to Google and you Google Gary Baseman, okay, you're going to see what I'm talking about. There are a lot of drawings with a lot of female-like figures that are, you know, without articles of clothing and things like this. But you also see like things like symbology, like for instance, the eye and the butterfly, and, you know, a lot of little things like that. It's just very weird. And then I can't even, like, there's a pink one right here. I cannot click that one. It is just way too much. Cannot click it. It's NSFW 100%. Okay, let me click this one right here. So this one right here, you'll see that this is another drawing. Again, yeah, like the all-seeing eye is weird, right? More macabre than anything, little childlike figures. It seems to be, I don't know if that's a monkey or an animal or of a child or whatever on the ground. Then you see like these weird little figurines on the bottom left. I mean, it's weird, right? But I definitely see his point. Yeah, because it's like the same style of artistry, childlike, but there are really, really, really egregious themes to this. A lot of sexualized things, fluids, and, like, you know, once again, things without articles of clothing. And once again, you guys can go to Google yourself and Google Gary Baseman, and look at this yourself. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is the common denominator between all of this. And that is the fact that Target elected, they have chosen and decided to go with these types of people, these types of artists that have a lot of like sexualized things. And by the way, this artist that they collaborated with actually designed the album cover for Karol G, who's like a Latin pop star. And so, yeah, man, I just like, it's just so confusing to me. Like, I get it. Some people like the style, right? But, yeah, you see something right in front of you. You see something right in front of you. They're using these types of people for child accessories, infant clothing, and things like this, right? And they have like a bunch of these parts all out. Anyway, I think I drove my point home a bunch of times, so I'm just going to leave you with that. Just thought that I would talk about that, about the similar art styles that are out there as well. Let me know what your thoughts are on all this in the comments below. Did you know that Target even did all this? Are you aware that their campaign consisted of these artists, and the artist's body of work had this type of pervasiveness? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I love you all. I will catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.